So my name is Tracy Gates and I have been using AK since the early 1990s. I was, prior to that, an osteopath and specifically working in the Sutherland cranial field. And prior to that, I was actually in mainstream medicine. My practice has evolved over a number of years. I spent many years working specifically with special needs children. In latter years, I've focused rather more on the endocrine system and treating people with, women particularly, with a variety of different hormonal problems. How did I discover AK? Well, I have a low boredom threshold and I was fairly restricted in the way I felt I was working in the osteopathic field. I had a colleague who was working in my clinic and he was studying AK at that time, and he'd come back enthused every weekend from the latest things he'd learned, and he said, "Oh, you've got to come along and learn this stuff." And so I went along to the next weekend with him. I took my son, who was very young and handicapped, and Chris Astle-Smith was the teacher, and he did some work on my son Samuel, and I was completely blown away by the possibility as to what I might be able to achieve in terms of treating my son and other children like him. And I was hooked from that moment on. I studied AK that following year. I did the 100-hour course 3 times in a row, couldn't get enough of it, went to all sorts of other seminars all around the world, and did my diplomat 3 years after first discovering AK, and I've been using it and teaching it ever since. Why is AK such an interesting tool? Well, I think that the key thing for me with AK is that it takes so much of the guesswork out of what I'm trying to achieve. You know, I'm constantly working in cooperation with the body. And as long as I ask the right questions, the body is always willing to give me the answer. And so I can get so much more feedback in terms of what I'm looking for. I've got increased patient compliance because they understand the changes that are going on within their body when we're doing muscle testing. And so I can get to the nub of the problem so much more quickly. I think every other aspect of the way that we work as mechanical and metabolic practitioners is guesswork. We try something, it doesn't work, we try something else. But with AK, we can short circuit so much of that guesswork. And that for me is the most valuable tool that I have in my toolbox. It doesn't mean that I disregard everything else that I have, but it's without doubt the most valuable tool, and it's what enables me to most efficiently and successfully treat my patients. And at the end of the day, that's always what I'm looking to do. So my Congres topic is long COVID, treatment strategies for COVID, vaccine reactions and resultant auto-immunity. I've chosen to talk about that because I've put a seminar together in recent times. My plan actually at the beginning of the previous year was to semi-retire from practice. But interestingly enough, I had so many of my old patients contacting me as a result of problems that they had either from COVID infection or from vaccine reactions. And so I ended up actually being busier than I had been the previous year, despite my intention to semi-retire. And so I got very involved in the whole kind of COVID research programs that were going on around the world and particularly in the UK, and I wanted to try and teach that to as many people as I could within the AK field. And so it seemed prudent to try and put a short, brief assay of that across at the seminar in Toulouse. So that will be my topic of presentation. What would I say to a fresh AK learner? I would say understand the concepts of AK. Understand what AK is giving you as a working tool within your practice. Don't get bogged down by the 1,000 different techniques that will be presented to you in your basic learning and when you go to seminars and all of these different topics that you'll have available to you. They're all amazing things. They're all opportunities to grow your knowledge and your ability to treat your patients. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is to understand the concept of what AK can do for you. So take what you need to learn from AK and use it. And in that way, you will love it and it will enhance your practice and it will benefit your patients and everyone will be a winner.